Hey! I don't make videos like this normally, but a few months ago, I saw this fan clan challenge that was going around on Twitter. The original was by @hazelpoppy8326. The idea is that you make a warriors clan out of characters you love in media, which seemed super fun, and I loved seeing loads of people's designs on Twitter. But I had my final uni exams, and I had to disappear for 2 months. But now I'm back, and I have time again. And it got me thinking, I was already gonna make a whole clan to fit the story for some of my warrior OCs anyway, so why didn't I just merge these two things together? And even though I'm really late to this trend, I don't really care. I thought I could make a little speed paint commentary video where I'm gonna be yapping about my favourite characters and how I design OCs. I do apologise, I am not very good at this. I have a shitty little microphone headset. I'm sorry if the audio is bad. I tried to limit the amount of characters that come from the same franchises, but you will soon see that I fail at this quite pathetically. But again, this is about self-indulgence and having fun. No one can stop me, even if it is cringe. I don't care. There are technically spoilers for some of the franchises I talk about, so I've left some timestamps in the description if you want to skip through anything, if you don't want to be spoiled. Okay, so, my first victim. This design is based off of Rory Mustang from the Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood series. I absolutely adore this show. It's been a while since I actually watched it, but goddamn, if you haven't seen this, you need to. I'm not massively into anime, but this is just one of the most consistently good shows I've just ever seen. I love so many of the characters, and the world building is just so inspiring to me. It's a pretty hard show to explain in just one sentence, but basically, two brothers try and bring their mum back to life with alchemy, and shit goes off the walls. And then they fight some personified deadly sins. I remember watching this whole thing in about 3 days, where I just lay in my bed in a cocoon of blankets, and I was transfixed. Now, I very clearly remember Roy Mustang being my favourite character. He's a fire alchemist, and him and Hawkeye, which is like his duo, have such a good dynamic, and I just thought he was so badass. The scene of him fighting against Lust was such a highlight. I found it a little hard to try and translate his features and design into a cat form. One thing I did want to translate over was including a scar that is similar to what he has in the show after the Lust fight, and then I could build that into the OC's character story. I chose his name to be Smokewing with the idea that he was born Hawkkit, a reference to Hawkeye, but as an apprentice he was a victim of a very severe burn from a forest fire when he was trying to save a kit that was trapped. It took some time for him to recover from this as it was very severe, and some feared it would hinder him from being a great warrior, but that didn't stop him. His name change was of his own choice, because he wanted to seem more badass and to emphasise how much he's endured yet come out on top. Cats, and any animal really, humans as well, are very adaptable to physical changes, so I imagine that although his back leg is weaker, he absolutely compensates it with his other legs. Seeing his bravery and how determined he is, he was chosen as deputy and then later became leader, Smokestar. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this design turned out, even though I don't know how much it actually looks like Roy Mustang, but ow. Now, these next two characters are from Arcane, because I'm basic and I do animation, so kinda had to include this show. So this show is just pure eye candy. The animation, I could stare at this for days and still find new things that will blow my mind. This character is based on Vi. I love this character. It's rare that you get mass women in media, so she is special to me. Arcane isn't a perfect show by any means, but I adore how they have so many strong female characters, both physically and plot-wise. There are a lot of characters that I would have wanted to add from this show, but I limited it to just 2. For her warrior version, I gave her the name Violet Claw. She was actually a rogue before joining the clan, and joined after becoming friends with Blue Paw, who I'm drawing next. For my clan, I've decided to change a bit from canon, where in this version it's quite normal for cats, either kitty pets or rogues or even from other clans, to join the clan, as well as it not being totally uncommon for other cats to leave the clan if they want to. This is mostly just to avoid the horrific amount of incest, but also I just feel like it makes more sense. Like, it makes more sense because it happens more in nature as well. To join the clan, they still need to go through an apprenticeship and go through training to learn everything they need to know about the clan and clan life. But yeah, this is the final design. I tried to keep her colour similar to, like, her hair colour. I don't know how realistic it is, but I quite like how it turned out in the end. So, of course, I also had to add Caitlin Gurman. I love their relationship, even if it's not the most well written, but you can probably tell from the amount of fan art I've made of them too. I think this show should have had an extra season or so, because season 2 is just a whirlwind. I really wish these two had a bit more time just to breathe. It felt a bit too plot focused instead of character focused, and it just, I don't know, there was just too much going on with the Umbessa plot, Warwick, the time travel stuff, and the, like, Jesus subplot. Oh, I don't know. I think for how much was happening, it's surprisingly well written, but they just didn't need to do all that. Season 1 felt much more grounded and like it knew what it wanted to do and say. Anyway though, for her design, I really wanted to lean into the blue sort of aspect, and a colour point just felt right for her. I also included her damaged eye like in the show. Both her and Violet Claw are the youngest warriors in this clan, but they've already made a name for themselves as amazing fighters, and make a great duo. I was very torn between including Kate and Vi or Jinx and Echo, but Kate and Vi are just a bit more personal to me, even if I think Jinx and Echo are like a better written couple in my opinion, and just better written characters in general. Okay, now this apprentice is based off of Tigress from Kung Fu Panda. This design is actually more so based off of the 2D short films that are based in the Kung Fu Panda universe, just because I really love these films and the animation is just so stunning. Both Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2 are some of my favourite films. I'm not much of a fan of the third one, and I haven't seen the fourth and I don't really want to be honest. But god, growing up, Tigress was instantly my favourite. She's just such a badass. I love her development with Poe, especially in the second movie. The 2 short films are when she's a bit younger, are just so precious to me. She's such a baby in these short films. Even if it doesn't completely make perfect sense to what happens in the movies, I love how it characterises her. So for this design, I really wanted to translate the obvious tiger markings. I thought it was quite easy to translate these across, because 2 cats, you know? But I tried to simplify some of the stripes down a little bit. I also wanted to stylize her face shape to be similar to that of what's in the movies. I'm not totally happy with how it turned out, but I think it does look a lot like her, so. Now, another one of my favourite shows is called Killing Eve. This is a show based on a book series by Luke Jenkins of a psychopath assassin and a police detective trying to hunt her down, but then they sort of fall in love with the most toxic Yuri I have ever witnessed, but god, it is just so good. It's such a stylish show with an absolutely banging soundtrack. Both Sandra Oh and Jodie Comer as Eve Pilastri, the detective, and Villanelle, the assassin, are perfect in the roles they play. It's also such a funny show. It has so many strong characters I like and that I could have put in this video, but I had to restrain myself. This character I'm drawing here is based on Eve Pilastri, who is the main character the story revolves around. She tries to piece together who Villanelle is and why she's being paid to kill all these people. She's very depressed with her own life. It's very boring and she becomes completely obsessed with Villanelle, and Villanelle obsessed with her. This drives her to become more like Villanelle, so she's a pretty morally grey character, but god, it's such a good dynamic. And they both have different power over each other. Villanelle is also a great character. She fucks with people and does whatever she wants, and then uses her looks and charisma to get away and manipulate people. So for this design, I wanted to lean into the whole religious Eve and the apple kind of imagery, which is used in the show a little bit, as I feel like that's one of the only links I could have had to translate it into a warrior's design. I also took inspiration of this dress Eve wears in season 1. It's a dress Villanelle actually gifts to her. After stealing Eve's suitcase and putting a bunch of fancy clothes in it and then sending it back to Eve's house, which is such a chilling moment, you can see the power that Villanelle has now she knows where Eve lives. She's been stalking her so she knows what clothes to get, what the right size are. She also leaves a little flirty note apologising for murdering Eve's detective friend. Like, it's just so fun and horrific in the same way. Anyway, so I just chose a black and white cat for this design. I also not so subtly added the apple motif in the face markings. I don't know if I was a little bit too literal with this, and I could have gone a bit more abstract, but I quite like it. I was struggling for a suffix for her name because I knew I wanted to call her Apple something. So I asked on my Discord and someone suggested Apple Snap, as in her character's mental state is on the edge and about to snap. But also Apple Snap is just kind of cute because it's like the little biscuit cake thing. Here's the final design. I think I'm overall pretty happy with it. I think I made her look a little bit too depressed, but also that is kind of her character, especially at the start of the series. So I guess it's pretty accurate. Of course, I couldn't just have Eve without Villanelle, so I also designed her. I had a lot of fun with this design. I kept the eyes quite wide set like the actress, but then took some liberties with the markings. I was trying to keep with the biblical theming, so I decided to make her snake themed, as it matches pretty well with the apple and snake dynamic. Since my OC's story takes place in the UK, I picked an adder, as that is a native snake here. This is what inspired the tabby markings on her face and down the back. I wanted to match what an adder sort of looks like. I added some scar marks that sort of match what she gets at the end of season 1 when she gets hit in the face with a log, and also when Eve stabs her, because I thought it could be kind of like a fun nod. Even though this is probably my favourite show if I had to just boil it down, I can only say that about the first 2 seasons because they absolutely butchered it and I am still mad about it. So if you're gonna watch it, just do the first 2. Do not watch anymore. The 3rd season's okay, but it just kind of goes downhill, and season 4, though it has some good moments, absolutely butchered it. Butchered all the characters. I'm still sorry about it. Like, why did they do that? There was no need. The book series didn't even end like that. I haven't read it, but I've heard. So, no idea why they did that. But, anyway, here's the final design. I gave her some kind of crazy eyes and then decided to name her aghhh. I actually think this is my favourite design I did for this video. This next elder is based off of Ida the Owl Lady from the Owl House. This is also a very popular show, like in the sort of animation sphere, and I think rightly so. I have to admit, I haven't actually finished it. I watched it originally when it first came out, the first couple seasons, but I just never got around to finishing it. Because I know it got cut short, and I don't know, I just kind of don't want to finish it, because then it is finished, you know? But still, it's such a wonderful show. It's still a kid's show, but I really enjoyed it. I just really love the world building and the art direction and designs. Big fan. I'm obviously a little bit biased towards Ida, for obvious reasons, but I love her character. I love the voice actress as well. She does such a phenomenal job with this character. I felt a little bit bad again making her an elder. I feel like as soon as a character's over 30, they're straight to the Elder's Den, which I feel a bit mean about, but I think it's fair enough in her case. Now, in the show, she does lose her arm, and also her left eye goes silver as she loses her magic abilities. And I wanted to incorporate this as if she's a character who's been through a lot of things. I imagine she's told many different stories about how she's lost her arm to all the kids who want to hear stories from her, and she just makes it up each time, so no one really knows. And I imagine she lost vision in her left eye through cataracts. I had a lot of fun translating her big hair into this design with a big mane. I'm really happy with how this one came out. So, you know how I talked about limiting the amount of characters that come from the same media? This is my biggest exception. So, Doctor Who. I'm British, so I'm legally obliged to watch Doctor Who, and it's now become the longest lasting piece of media I've been a fan of. I was literally 1 year old when Doctor Who came back on air in 2005, and my family watched it religiously every Saturday. It's a silly little show about an alien who basically kidnaps women to show them all of time and space, and who also regenerates into different actors so they can just keep the show going on. Like, they literally built recasting into the lore of the show. It's become a massive piece of nostalgia for me. The 11th Doctor is kind of my Doctor. It was when my brain actually started retaining information, so when the 12th Doctor came along though, I kind of gave up with the show for a little bit. I was becoming a teenager, so I considered it cringe and didn't want to watch it. But when I was a bit older, I got back into it and loved it again. And even though it's still cringe, I don't care. I can just enjoy what I want. And it became a great thing for me and my brother to bond over, and we became a lot closer because of it. But eventually when I was rewatching it, I got back to the 12th Doctor, and I expected to hate it, because I didn't like the 12th Doctor or Clara, which was the companion at the time. And then I actually watched it, and I realised what a fool I was. I love these characters now. I know it might not be the most popular opinion, but I just love the old grumpy granddad version of the Doctor, and his relationship with Clara is just perfect. I adore it. Like, they become quite dependent on each other, and then watching Clara's character go on a bit of a mental spiral downwards, like, I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I love it. Is the show flawed? Yeah. Is it got loads of issues? Yeah. Do I kind of hate it? Absolutely. But that's kind of how I want my Doctor Who, and I feel like that's a kind of common feeling about the show a lot of the fans have. Right, anyway, to the actual drawing. This design is obviously based off the 12th Doctor. In Warrior Cats, the clans have a role called a medicine cat, which is the clan healer, but also like the religious person. The term medicine cat is a bit iffy though. It does cross into some indigenous cultural appropriation. I am nowhere near knowledgeable enough or the one to speak on this issue, but I've linked to an actual discussion about it by people who are actually impacts and are far more educated than I am in the description. But I thought instead for my clan, instead of a medicine cat, I'll have a title of a doctor who is responsible for the healing. Because it's quite fitting. I've got this character Timestorm, which is awful and so on the nose, but I kind of love it. The Doctor's called the Oncoming Storm, and obviously yeah, sorry. But I think of him as a bit of a mix of Yellowfang and Jayfeather. I have another OC called Sunport, designed by Ventilian Vexus. sorry if I butchered your name, who is the Doctor's apprentice. And this character loves to collect flowers and leaves and keep them in her fur, some stolen from Two Legs. But for these characters, I imagine that Timestorm pretty much hates everyone in the clan except two she-cats who you'll see later, as well as Sunpaw, who is a daughter of one of the she-cats. So he tolerates her putting thyme into his fur, as well as other herbs and bits and bobs. This is the final design. I think I've got his personality across quite well, so I was quite happy with it. Now, one of these she-cats that Timestorm likes is based on, who would have guessed, Clara Oswald. I love Clara Oswald, which I know is controversial. I'm not saying she's perfectly written at all. She's not, especially in season 7. But I don't know, something about her in 12 just hits different for me. I don't ship them, which I know some people do, which, whatever, fair game. But their relationship is rare in media because they love each other more than anything, but still, at least in my eyes, they have like a father-daughter relationship, and I just think it's really precious. But then that also tears them apart and leads to both of their downfalls. Throughout season 8 and 9, Clara loses her boyfriend and then other people on adventures, leaving her more and more isolated from the real world and keeps her on the TARDIS with the Doctor. Then she starts becoming more confident and cocky about herself, being like the Doctor. But unlike him, she's human. She's only got one life, so inevitably it catches up with her and leads to her death, with her being so reckless. Well, sort of death. Moffat can't kill her main character off completely, but it's close enough, and it does lead to the most universally well-liked Doctor Who episode, Heaven Sent, where the Doctor literally goes through the most horrific torture that lasts billions of years just to try and get her back, but it proves that both of them have become so toxic to each other that the only way to break the bond is for one of them to literally have their minds wiped of all the memories of the other one. Like, how insane of a love must you have for someone that you need to literally erase them out of your mind, even though you're aware of what the relationship has become and how toxic it is. I just love this dynamic so much, so I had to include her. I gave her the name Doe Eyes because Clara does have some big eyes.
Stop it with the eyes. Don't do that with the eyes. How do you do that anyway? It's like they inflate.
And it just felt fitting. Kind of like, I think her design is actually the least favourite of mine. Something about it just feels kind of off and I kept messing with it, but it just didn't click. So I'll probably have to come back to this at some point, but here it is for now. So I didn't want to add Clara without her Danny Pink, so I also added him. This is her boyfriend in season 8, and well, their relationship does help further her character development in a few ways, mostly by dying. But I also love their dynamic as well. He's a really interesting character, because he's kind of cute, kind of dorky, but he also has some very deep-rooted trauma from him killing a child in combat, so yeah, him and Clara are a funny couple as well. They're pretty messy, but I don't know, it feels more grounded, and it makes sense for Clara's character, as she's a bit hard to get on with when she has the Doctor in her life. But at the end of season 8, he does die by getting hit by a car, which sets something off in Clara, and she goes out a bit crazy. She can't take that it was just such an ordinary death. Her worldview has been completely shifted, and she just can't take it, and it causes her to basically try and off herself and the Doctor, as she forces him to try and bring Danny back, and 12 refuses. It's such an amazing scene, and it gives, in my opinion, the best line in the show.
Do you think I care for you so little that betraying me would make a difference?
Like, goddamn, my heart. But then space stuff happens, he gets turned into a Cyberman, which is like an emotionless cyborg, sort of made from a person but stripped away their humanity. I tried to incorporate this into his fur pattern with some silvery colours, with also the eyes and stripes mimicking the joints of the Cyberman suit. I did a bit of a beard to make it look a bit more like Daddy, but the thought that as a kitten he would have popped out with a full beard is hilarious to me. But yeah, I decided to call him Pink Nose because pink. But I was very close to calling him Silver because of the whole Cyberman thing. But anyways, hope he doesn't get hit by a car at some point. Right, okay, last Doctor Who character, I promise, I'm sorry. But also not sorry, so I can put in who I want and no one can stop me. But anyway, after Clara Oswald, the next companion is Bill Potts in series 10. And again, a banging series. The thing about it is just so right. It's a bit of an underrated series, I think, but it's grown in popularity as time's gone on. It acted as a bit of a jumping on point for new fans, and the 12th Doctor became a crazy university professor, which is just so perfect. One thing about 12 is his character development across the series he's in is so good. He starts off more bitter and grumpy, thinking he's a bad person, but then by the end, he's just a cute patootie. I think he's the best in series 10. Bill Potts is such a good companion for this. She's a little scatterbrained and says stuff without thinking, but she just feels so real. She has some hilarious moments, and again, her dynamic with 12 is great. Especially compared to the more dark emotional one with Clara, this series just feels light and fluffy to me. Well, there is a lot of dark and emotional stuff with Bill too, especially in the finale where she also gets turned into a Cyberman, but it's just done so well, and it's so heartbreaking. I gave her the name Heatherstep as a nod to Bill's sort of girlfriend, romantic partner, whatever, called Heather. For my OCs, she's the mother to Sunpaw, and is the reason she's into plants and flowers in the first place. Heather Step hangs around with Timestorm lots and they're great friends, so of course when she gave birth to this little beautiful girl, he also fell in love with her too, and inspired her to become a doctor like him one day. I'm really happy with how this design turned out. I also included the little scar on her chest as a reference to how she got turned into a Cyberman, but guess she survived it this time. So growing up as a kid, I was completely obsessed with two films that I would just watch constantly and on repeat, and I don't really know why, but one of these was How to Train Your Dragon. Now, this changed my life when I watched it, I can't lie. Like, it's quite a universally loved film, but god, something about it just clicked in my head. I loved dragons as a kid, so seeing this, and also the design of Toothless as a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I actually begged my parents to get me a black cat because of this. But yeah, I wanted to include Toothless as a character, but I also wanted him to be a little, like, kitten. So it's a very simple drawing this, and it took me about 10 minutes, but yeah. I gave it the name Lightning Kit, and is the kit of Panther Strike. Yeah, there's not much to this design, it's literally just a ball of fluff. I tried to add some of the markings that Toothless has, especially in the first films, like the little dots and stuff. Controversially about this movie though, I think the first movie, 10 out of 10, perfect. Second movie was okay. I know some people love it, and I did enjoy watching it, but... And then I hate the third movie. I know some people love it, fair enough. Not for me. I feel like it kind of lost the plot of the first one. And I don't know, it just didn't feel right. I didn't like the light fury and stuff, and it just kind of ruined the message of the first film to me. So I stick with the first one. That's my baby. I love this film. Best thing ever. But yeah, here's the final design. Not much to it, it's just a ball of fluff. A recent piece of media I've become a fan of is the animated film Goat. I think a lot of animators like this film. It's just such a beautiful film, and even though it's quite like a basic story in plot, I think it was just really well done. I love the characters, and especially the designs and the whole world building itself. I know like a lot of people compare it to sort of like Zootopia and all that, but I think this is a lot better done. I think the character designs have so much more flair and character and just sort of like individuality to them, whereas I think Zootopia, like, you know, all the tigers kind of look the same and so. But I think in this film, they really try and push all the characters. I really love Jet Fillmore. Not only her design, but also her character. I like the idea of her not really being able to let go of her prime, and she is aging, but she's just not really ready to let that go yet. Really sort of feels like she's actually the main character of the film. Obviously she's not, but it does sort of feel like she's sort of the main drive of the film, that she's the one being replaced and she's just not ready to let that go. Her design was quite easy to translate. I wanted just to make a very buff black cat. I gave her a scar on her leg, because obviously in the film, in the last act, she does hurt her leg, and I think it's quite fitting. She is the mother to Lightning Kit. I think it's quite funny the idea she basically just did mitosis. So yeah, here's the final design. I think I made her quite buff, which I was quite happy with. Now, another pair I decided to add was Stanford and Stanley Pines from Gravity Falls. It just felt right to add these two. Gravity Falls was such a big thing for me growing up, as I'm sure it was for a lot of people. For me, it was like the first fandom I was aware of and watched on YouTube. Seeing all the fan theories and people just talking about it online was just so fun. And it surprisingly was actually what brought me into the map community as well. From the Who We Are map by Farah, like, this changed my life. It was just such a cool map, and it led to me finding out what the concept of a map was, because 12-year-old me was confused why the art style changed like every 10 seconds, and then I found out Warriors had maps, and here we are. Anyway, I love the characters in this show. When the author of the journals were revealed, oh my god, my life was changed. It was just so perfect. And then the finale as well, it's just a fantastic show. I love Stanford and Stanley's characters. The concept of having two identical twins that people keep getting mixed up but have opposite personalities is just kind of golden. For these two designs, I obviously wanted to make them look similar, but I tried to keep enough details to differentiate between them if you look a bit longer. Like in this show, I made their stubble slightly different, where Stanford has a gradient and Stanley has like a block colour. The crack on Stanford's glasses I also translated into a scar on his face, as well as the burn on Stanley's back I added as a scar. I wanted their names to sound similar, so I chose Pine Dawn for Stanford and Vinethorn for Stanley. I imagine that Pine Dawn gets pissed off by Vinethorn a lot, and that Vinethorn thinks it's absolutely hilarious. Pine Dawn is forever annoyed that the leader chose them to have basically the same name. Again, this is a very basic opinion for an animator to have, but Spider-Verse is a masterpiece. I am so hyped for the next movie. Like, Miles is such a perfect protagonist. And I love how he's grown up between the first and second movies. It's just been really nice to watch him grow up. I don't really think there's much point me talking about the art in these movies, because I mean, just look at them. Enough's been said, to be honest. This apprentice is called Spiderpaw. Not the most creative name I know, but I had a lot of fun designing it. I tried to add the spider symbol onto the back of the character by incorporating it into the stripes. The colours and pattern are supposed to emulate Miles Morales' suit, particularly in the first movie, with the red being translated into brown to make it more realistic for a cat fur coat, and with the white spider eyes of the suit as white colouring around the eyes. I had a lot of fun drawing this one. I really wanted to get across his energetic personality. I think this is more representative of him in the first movie instead of the second, as this is more of a younger version of him. But yeah, can't wait for the next movie. Now, the other film that baby me was obsessed with was Mamma Mia. And I am convinced that the only reason I latched onto this movie as a kid is because I have the same name as the main character, and I think that was enough for me to be hooked, to be honest. Also, you know, it's ABBA, great music, and it is just a very fun movie. Though, I definitely had no idea what was going on, or like the actual plot of the movie when I was growing up, but I didn't understand the, like, three dads kind of thing. I didn't get that. But, you know, characters were fun, music was fun, I still enjoyed it a lot, and I rewatched it so much. And now rewatching it a bit older, my favourite character is obviously Donna. What an iconic character, I can't lie. So I really wanted to make an Elder based off of her character. I feel a bit mean putting all the, like, slightly older characters, just instantly putting them in the Elder's Den, but I'm having to make a plan. I need to put the older ones in there. I named her Beach Breeze. I wanted her to be a very pretty cat, and I imagine when she was younger she was a bit of a charmer, and a lot of the clan really admired her. I wanted to keep a bit of like the island theme of the beach and everything, so hence the name, and also the sort of beachy sandy colours. And I wanted to try and incorporate her long blonde hair into the design, so I've sort of created like the fur being that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this design. I think it's quite cute. So this apprentice was based off of Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original, not the stupid Netflix remake, but anyway. I was quite a bit late to this show. I was a literal baby when it came out, so I just sort of missed out on it. But after hearing enough about it online when I got older, I decided to actually give it a go by watching some shitty re-upload reaction on YouTube, because I couldn't find it anywhere. And even with this shitty quality version, god, I see why this show got so much hype. It's such a well-paced and just a perfect story that ties itself together in such a satisfying ending. Like, it's rare to have such a great show from start to finish. This isn't an unpopular opinion to have on the series. Toph is an earthbender, hence why I named her Earthpaw. I tried to translate her bangs in the front of her eyes, but make it work with a cat design. I tried to give her more earthy tones with lighter and darker brown tabby splotches. Now, Warriors has a very bad streak for being very ableist towards disabled characters, and I really don't want to just copy that for my version. Anyone who has a blind cat will know that they can get along just fine. Cats have great hearing, smell, and they use their whiskers to sense where things are. So even without sight, they can still do most cat things perfectly fine, like hunting and fighting. Jayfeather in the Warriors book was written as if it would be impossible for him to be a proper warrior, and so got shoved into the medicine den, so I'm not falling into that. Earthpaw is training to be a warrior, and that's just it. Yes, she'll probably have some extra support and need to do some bits a bit different to other cats, but she can still be a warrior. In this show, Toph is repeatedly shown to be one of the strongest benders, and I love how they make her use her different senses, like feeling the ground, to compensate. And this is going to be reflected in this character. Although some may still underestimate her, she uses that to her advantage to overpower her opponents who didn't expect how strong she is. I love the idea of her being able to take advantage of the fact she's blind. In battles such as if it's a really dark place or rain or the opponent can't see very well, they'll be at a disadvantage, whereas she's used to that and can deal with those situations far better. Here's the final design. I hope I got her character across quite well. Can't lie, this was a character I added in very last minute, like I just completely forgot about the show, which I think is really awful of me, because this show is immaculate, I can't lie. Again, it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge who wrote, or who helped write season 1 of Killing Eve, so her writing, you know, it's different. So Fleabag is a pretty popular show, and rightly so, especially season 2. Though I also really love season 1. I think that's kind of underrated and it gets overshadowed by season 2 a little bit, but season 2 is also good, so I can't really say anything. Like, I think just every part of the show, all the characters, like, it's not much I can really say. You just watch it if you haven't. It's just so funny and so deep and emotional. I love how barely any of the characters have names as well. Like, the main character is just called Fleabag because no one actually refers to them at any point, right? We don't know her name. She is just Fleabag. And the stepmom is just the stepmom. And the dad is just the dad. The priest is just the priest. We don't actually get to know their names, which I think is so sick, but it's like you don't even really realise while you're watching the show. I remember after I watched season 1, I had a thought being like, what actually is the main character's name? I don't know. Because it's not mentioned. The only one that's mentioned is Claire and her husband, who I've forgotten, but... So my first thought when designing this was just to actually make her look like a flea, which feels a bit brutal. And I strayed away from actually calling her flea fur or whatever, so I just went with bug fur instead. Just because it felt really mean, because fleas are obviously used as like an insult in Warriors, so... I still based the design a little bit off a flea with like the browny colours and the sort of scaly look I sort of got with the fur pattern. I also added a little white patch on her chest as a little nod to the whole priest collar thing. Like, I know she's not the priest in it, but it's just a little like reference to that, and I think it looks alright with the design. It was a bit of a rush design, but I think it captures most of what I was going for. So here it is. Okay, so the last couple I'm including in this video are from the series The Haunting of Bly Manor. This was a show on Netflix in 2020 and is, I think, loosely based on a very old book called The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. It's a gothic romance horror series and oh, it just broke me. It's such a sad show. The Haunting of Hill House was a more popular show, but Bly Manor stuck with me way more. I was debating between adding Danny and Jamie, but I decided to add Hannah and Owen, as I think their storyline was far more impactful and just tragic to me. The show is about a couple of orphan kids who are being looked after by a new au pair, Danny, but the grounds are haunted by many ghosts. Hannah is the housekeeper, and in a twist it's actually revealed she was a ghost the whole time. There's a bunch of foreshadowing to this. She doesn't eat, she seems to wander off all the time for hours, and she keeps seeing this crack everywhere. This is because this is the last thing she saw when she died, because another ghost pushed her down a well, plot reasons, but it's just so tragic. As her and Owen fall in love, but he's in love with a dead woman. She can't go away with him and they can't live their lives together. The episode of Hannah's brain fragmenting and fading away is just so heartbreaking. There's a constant theme with the show of forgetting and fading away, and it's just so moving. It's just a beautiful show. For my OCs, I've decided to do what I want and to give them a bit of a happy ending. Here, Hannah, who I've called Quiet Spirit, survived the fall, but left her with a serious head injury and damaging her right eye and ear. I made the scar across her eye match the shape of the crack she keeps seeing as a little reference to her character. She does manage to recover from this injury, but it does take a lot of physical therapy and time. I wanted her to be a black cat whose fur has been sunbleached by the UV. She wears a red top in the show, so I wanted to reflect this in the design, but try and keep it a bit more realistic. I'm really happy with how this design turned out. And of course, we have to have Owen as well. I give him a big bushy moustache and a big happy personality, like in the show. He's such a charming character. I really love how him and Hannah are so kind to the orphan kids in the show, and also how they interact with each other. I gave him the name Reed Pelt, as a nod to the lake in the show, as that felt very fitting. In the show he's the cook, so I imagine he's a big foodie, and he always wants to go on hunting patrols so he can bring back loads of food, feed all the kids in the clan, and also brings Quiet Spirit her favourite food. They are absolutely smitten with each other, and a bit of a parental figure to a lot of people in the clan. I'm really happy with how this design turned out as well, as I think he looks really happy and cuddly with his big fur, and I think it reflects his personality really well. Whew, okay, that was long. Thank you to anyone who actually made it through all that. Now, you may be wondering, what actually is the name of this clan? And that's a good question, because I have no idea. I know it's going to be set in Northern England and Southern Scotland area, so there's a lot of habitats to choose from, like moors, coastlines, bogs, old forests, so... yeah, Storm Clan, that works, there's a lot of rain there. Here's a chart showing all the different roles of the clan. And then here's a little height chart thing, so you can see all the different characters together. Big thank you to all my patrons. Your guys' support means so much to me, so thank you so much. If you want to join, you can get sneak peeks, like whips, early access to videos, and some art bases. No idea if I'll make a video like this again, but I hope you enjoyed anyway. Bye!